Coming up only to hold you under, and coming up only to show you wrong, and to know you is hard when we wonder. To know you all wrong, we were. Really too late to call, so we wait for morning to wake you is all we got. But to know me as hardly golden is to know me all wrong, they would.
Oh, there we go.
Alright, we're here in front of the beluga exhibit. Mystic Aquarium has one of the largest beluga exhibit in North America. Here at Mystic Aquarium, we're all about conservation. In our beluga exhibit, we have 750,000 gallons of water, all of which we filter, and 90% of which is reused. Now, the belugas are not yet endangered, but they are considered a threatened species, and in some local areas are in danger of becoming extinct. Another huge problem in the Arctic is that global warming is causing all the ice to melt, and this lets fishermen go places they wouldn't normally be able to if the ice had frozen over. Therefore, we also have issues with overfishing and nets being left behind that the animals can get caught in, as well as huge garbage masses floating up there. Now, how can you help? This is a ton of really depressing stuff, right? So, anything from volunteering to donating to local conservation efforts, even just recycling. Turn the water off between brushing your teeth. Little things like that all help to keep a healthy, balanced ecosystem that lets our world stay happy. Alright, meet my good friend.
Oh, there we go.
Melting ice in the Arctic is causing overpredation and overfishing, which makes there be more predators for the belugas and less prey to eat. This is causing them to come closer and closer every day to being endangered. Some of the research we're doing here with our own beluga whales include health and hormonal status of belugas, a breeding program, the effects of fish on the health and body condition, an investigation about the immune system and other impacts on their health and stress, and an evaluation of stress basically not only in our own whales but in general pinnipeds, and the metabolic rate of belugas in whales. There are some whales. Here at Mystic Aquarium we have a seal rescue clinic. This is a stranding team that responds to stranding calls in Long Island, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Now, why is rescuing stranded animals important? In addition to saving animals' lives, it also helps us to do research that tells us more about the animal and the environment they live in. Now, stranded animals are indicators of the marine environment around them. Such indicators include if they have disease, toxic algae bloom, pollution, increased boat and ship traffic, fishing gear, and changing water temperatures. All of this helps us learn about their life and their water environment that we couldn't learn about otherwise, and helps us to sustain a good, healthy, balanced ecosystem. Now this is the ICU of the Seal Rescue Clinic. we have a stranded animal, we'll bring it in here, put it into crates so they don't get too much human contact. And then we have a holding pool. When they're almost ready to be released, we'll put them in there and make sure they're swimming and everything's normal. We put different tags on their doors that indicate whether they're recently in and still injured or sick, whether they're being watched to see if they're released, or whether they're ready to go. In there right now we have one seal. Her name is Spooner and she is a gray seal. Pavilion. My name is Charlotte. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. In here we have our black-footed African penguins.
Right here for you guys.
Nice to meet
yeah,
you
you're
too.
here for me, but
Yep.
here for you.
Now, these species are endangered. Now, there is a huge conservation issues with these birds. Their population numbers are decreasing, and they're being watched very carefully. They became endangered about 2 Octobers ago. There were oil spills off the South African coast, and that became a major threat to their colonies. The oil spill, there was a staff of 2,000 volunteers that went down and cleaned up the penguins, and they cleaned up thousands of them. It was a huge spill. So there's been tons of efforts to try and preserve this species. Now you might be surprised that these penguins are from Africa, but over half of the 18 species of penguins are tropical birds. Again guys, my name is Charlotte. If you have any questions, come on up and ask me.
We can start talking.
Now, Mystic Aquarium participates in a species survival program, which is a collaborative effort between all the zoos and aquariums. It's a nationwide cooperative breeding program designed to manage a species with the goal of creating a stable, self-sustaining population through genetic diversity. There are SSPs for over 100 different species of animal. You guys are fine. Mystic Aquarium participates in this program and has since 1995. Genetically valuable penguins, or penguins with genetics that, would be good for the species to have, such as a good, stable system through their body. What do you call that?
What? A good digestive system?
Digestive system. More than a dozen chicks have been hatched at Mystic Aquarium based on this program. Now, the way it works is you pick and choose which animals you want to breed together based on how their genetics would work together. And that way, that keeps the species strong. This is especially popular in endangered and threatened species, such as this African black-footed penguin. My friend Carl. Carl, what can you tell me about ocean conservation and the efforts that Mystic puts into that?
Well, Mystic Aquarium has long had the mission that we are here to protect our ocean planet and to inspire others to do so. Conservation is very important wherever you go. And here at Mystic Aquarium, a big part of our effort goes into conservation. We do that through research and educational outreach. So our educational programs, both here at the aquarium and out at schools in the community, is all geared towards teaching conservation methods, teaching people the value of other species, whether they're local or on the far side of the planet, and to show people the connections between things away from us to things very close to us. For instance, our beluga whales come from the Arctic Ocean, and they live in a place where there's ice and snow all the time. And they're reliant on the ice and snow, but things that happen in other parts of the world affect their environment. Things that are causing the planet's temperature to increase, and the decrease in the Arctic ice leaves them more exposed to predators and might affect their food sources and where they can find food and at what times of year. So things that we do right here that can affect the climate here can affect the climate elsewhere and affect the species that live there. The stellar sea lions that are here in this exhibit live in the Pacific Northwest, and they have a problem running into trash and pollution, things that can entangle animals. And that doesn't just happen locally like our seal rescue clinic deals with, but up in the Pacific Northwest, it's happening even more. These animals might swim into these islands of trash, and some of it is wound up there from places all over the world. They've gone through these big floating piles of garbage that they find in the Pacific, and something about the world's currents bring a lot of it there. So things that wind up in the water here can wind up in the North Pacific, or the Indian Ocean, or any place on the planet and affect animals there. So when we talk about working locally and thinking locally, and protecting animals everywhere, it really means something. Mystic Aquarium is a conservation facility where we talk the talk and walk the walk. So we have an active recycling program here, and we teach about recycling in some of our educational programs and on our. We also do a lot of research with the species here.
In 1980, there were over 300,000 stellar sea lions in the world. Today, the total population has dropped to 100,000. The sharpest decline has been in the Gulf of Alaska and Aleutian Islands, where there are now only 39,000 stellar sea lions. This population has been officially listed as endangered.
Go!
Okay, we're in the Marine Mammal Observatory right now. If you look over, we've got two big pools, and these can be home to any animal that needs them. If we have a stranded whale or pinniped on the beach, they could be brought here if they don't fit in our seal rescue clinic. You notice we have the big crane. That one's helped us put in a big pilot whale in here that was injured, and it stayed in the pool while it was rehabilitating. Mystic Aquarium does a ton of work with rescuing injured mammals. Rescuing stranded animals is really important. A stranded animal is any animal that's come up onto the beach or is still in the water and appears to be injured, sick, or in otherwise distress. Doing this is really important for a lot of reasons. We can help conserve the species and learn more about them for future ocean conservation. By taking in the animal and rehabilitating it, you have to be really careful not to put too much human contact, that way it doesn't imprint on you, and you can release it. This gives the animal another chance at life, as well as help us learn more about the species by observing it and also finding out what was wrong with it. Say an animal had respiratory issues. We should check the water and see if there was a red tide there, which is a deadly algae that could kill and harm many animals and humans. This is a spider crab. You know, spider crabs in Japan can get up to 13 feet long. Imagine that coming at you. Animals in the ocean are amazing. We're gonna go over here. That's why it's so important to conserve our oceans. Not only does it save the animals and plants inside the ocean, but it also affects us. Researchers and veterinarians rescue wild dolphins, and if the dolphin is sick, it could be because of a contaminated fish that they're eating. Well, we fish from the same areas. So that just goes to show how everything is connected. In conserving the oceans, we're also conserving ourselves.